Are you struggling to fit your saxophone practice into a busy schedule? Well, look, in this episode, we're sharing some proven 30-minute practice routines that actually get results for sax players. So whether you've got all day or just half an hour, this is definitely going to help you make the most out of every practice session. G'day, it's Nigel here. Welcome back to the Sax School Online podcast, where we help adult sax players just like you level up your skills, have a bit more fun, and play with confidence as well, which is super important. So whether you're just starting out and getting back into saxophone, you're definitely in the right place. And I'm excited to be joined, as always, by two of my Sax School co-tutors, Fred and Joel from the Sax School tutor team. Today, though, we're talking about practice routines. Now, really important topic, and specifically how to make serious progress even if you've only got like 30 minutes to get your practice done. So lots to get stuck into today. But first of all, I'd love to know what you guys have been up to this week. So Fred, what have you been working on?
Well, I've been pretty busy working on a remote recording project with my my former Average White Band sax partner, Cliff Lyons. We are actually working on a record for a singer, and they're billing it as the Average White Band horns or the AWB horns. But we found out that in order to do that with iTunes, you actually have to have something released as the AWB horns, or they can't bill it that. So we're in the process of putting out just a couple of tracks under that name, so I'm tasked with writing and arranging it and then remote recording because I'm in St. Louis and Cliff is in New York, and we, that's just the nature of the business now. And actually the guy that's doing the rhythm tracks is in England. So
wow.
We co-wrote the thing, this bass player and I who lives in England, and then we're, writing the top line, writing the horn arrangement and all that stuff, and then eventually it'll turn out as a completed project.
That's really cool. Are you doing some video to support it or just doing it all audio?
I don't think so. Although it's not a bad idea, but right now we're still getting the tune, finishing the tune and figuring all that stuff out. But yeah, we might do a video too.
Yeah, really cool. And are you writing something brand new for this?
Yeah, the bass player's name is Phil Mulford. I don't know if you guys have heard of Phil. He's lives in London, and he's a excellent upright and acoustic and electric player, and he played in my band when I used to tour around England, and so we've been trying to do co-writing things for a long time. So I just went through a whole file of stuff that he sent me, and I said, okay, this one we can do something with this with two horns and make it sound and bring our thing to it. So yes, from scratch, basically.
Wow.
We're doing it. Yeah.
What a fun project. I can't wait to hear more about that. You have to keep us posted because our members in the community would love to hear those tracks and also about the progress of it too. Fantastic.
Okay.
What about you, Joel? What have you been practicing?
Well, kind of similar and kind of couldn't be more different to Fred, to be honest. I've got a session tomorrow as well with a guy called Ashley Reeks. And how can I describe the music? It's indescribable, really. He's a bit of a cult figure. It's kind of prog rock, I think, is the closest, but he'd probably be upset if I called it prog rock because it's not quite prog rock. Anyway, I've got this session tomorrow, and I've just had the first bits sent through. There's no music for it, but it's insanely complicated stuff. He just kind of writes it all on the fly, puts it into Cubase. It's in odd time signatures, but Cubase is all in 4. So
wow.
And then I've got to basically go in there, kind of orally transcribe it, record it, and then come up with harmony parts on the spot. So I've been having a quick listen through it, even though it's quite hard to tell which bits are my parts and which bits are the guitar parts. So I've just been trying to get my head round it generally, ready for tomorrow. So it's always good fun.
Ooh.
I've done a lot. He's prolific. I must have worked on, I don't know, coming up to 15 albums with him probably just in the last 10 years.
Wow.
So he writes and writes and writes and records and records and records. And it's all really interesting, quite dark stuff. Check it out. Yeah. It's not like anything you've heard before, and definitely not funk.
Wow. Oh, that's cool. What a fun project then. So is that in the studio somewhere up north in England?
Yeah. Knaresborough, the studio is at the moment. It's moved a few times, but that's where we're recording tomorrow.
Wow, what a fun project. Well, that's really interesting. Well, strangely enough, I've been working on melodies as well. So what I've been busy with this week is working on writing some new melodies for sax school songs. But it's been an interesting challenge because I've been using known popular songs as a template and then working up new melodies. So sort of like coming up with a new song that's based on an existing song. And the idea is for our members, it's a great way to, I guess, approach a song that they might be familiar with, but give them some new ideas for melody and some new sort of directions that they could go in with improvising, all that sort of stuff. So it's been fun because I'm looking at songs in different styles as well and trying to get into the mindset of that style. Like I did a 1950s one yesterday. So I was trying to get that real sort of 1950s sound in my playing, which is different to, I've got to do like a classic jazz one or a pop one or a DJ sax one or whatever. So I actually quite like the process of that, thinking about it in terms of a style, a technical thing that we're trying to include with the playing, and also making it easy for somebody else to play, because that's another consideration, right? If you're writing something to transcribe for a student to play, you kind of need to adjust. Well, I find I need to adjust the way that I might play it so that it would work better and make more sense from a transcription point of view. So it's been a fun challenge.
Nice.
So we've all been working on writing some stuff. What good fun. All right, cool. Well, let's get on to the topic today, which is 30-minute practice routines. Now, a lot of our members, we help thousands of adults learn saxophone at Sax School. And a lot of people are retired, but there's also a lot of people who are busy working, busy lives doing stuff. So finding time to practice is always challenging. One of the things that I wanted to kick off this conversation with is a technique that I talk about a lot in Sax School. It's in my Learn Saxophone Faster book. It's in our 30-minute practice challenge. And it's something I call the 4-part practice routine. So this is a simple way to think about the way you break down your practice, whether you've got 30 minutes or 3 hours. But it helps you to make sure you cover off all the important elements in a practice routine so that you make, in my opinion, the fastest progress. And I find that this has really helped me in my practice too. So in just a nutshell, if you want to sort of understand the 4-part practice routine, by the way, can you hear those pings that are happening all the way through? Can you hear those dings and dongs?
What is that?
I've got a steel roof on my music room. I'm up in my garden and we're surrounded by lots of trees. And at this time of year, we've got like conkers falling out the tree, right? It's like 24 hours a day. King, kong, kong, like landing on the roof. It's crazy, isn't it?
You can play along like percussion.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah. You should sample that.
Yeah.
It's like avant-garde sort of music. How would you write that? So the 4-part practice routine in a nutshell, in a conker nutshell, it works like this. So if you take your 30 minutes and you divide it in half, there's 4 elements to it. So the one half of it is one of the elements, and that's something new. And I'll come back to that in a second. So if you've got 30 minutes, that's 15 minutes on something new. The other 15 minutes, we break that into 3. And of those 3 sections, so there'd be 3 5-minute sections, 5 plus 5 plus 5 equals 15. So it would be 5 minutes of doing like a warm-up. So that could be like something like long tones, or it could be a slow melody, or it could be, layering things up like working with a tuner, doing some drone practice like we spoke about on other episodes. Something that helps you focus on your tone or overtones. And then the next 5 minutes is something technique based. So it could be scale, it could be a technical study. And then we do our 15 minutes of something new. And this is something new. It could be a brand new thing that you're learning, or it could be a new extension of the piece that you're already working on. Maybe a new tempo, a new section. But we finish off, and this is the important bit that I think most people overlook. The last remaining 5 minutes is something fun. And this is where you revisit something that you already know, but that's fun to play. So a lot of our members, for example, are working up songs that they might then go and perform on a solo saxophone gig, or maybe something that they play for friends or family, that kind of thing. So it's a time to revisit music that you're already comfy with, and have some fun and remind yourself of how much you enjoy playing saxophone and why you're doing this, and also the progress that you're making. So those are the 4 parts in a 4-part practice routine. And for me, if you can cover off all those 4 parts, whether you're using that formula for 30 minutes or for an hour, you're really having a well-structured practice. That's certainly one way to approach it. But Joel, you've got a different technique that you spoke to about on the Sax School Weekender, actually. but also you've done a masterclass on it in sax school called Interleaved Practice. Can you tell us a bit about that?
That's right. So it's very similar. So, you've got your sections of practice, you've got your warm-ups, and you've got your technique, and maybe you're working on some repertoire or having a bit of fun or whatever it is that you're doing. So you've still got these kind of blocks. And the traditional way of practicing these things is, and you're told this from an early age, you're told this at school, not just for saxophone, that, you should sit down and do your maths homework for an hour. And then you should move on and you should do your English homework for an hour. And the same with saxophone. You do your warm-ups for half an hour, then you move on to your technical stuff for half an hour, etc. But the thing is, and I'm sure a lot of players and students, and definitely myself, feel this, I get a bit bored doing that. Having to do that half an hour is quite boring. And it turns out there's a lot of scientific research done on this. Not for sax players, because there's no money invested in research on how we practice, but there is a lot of money invested in how sports and athletes practice. Billions and billions of dollars a year is invested in that. All countries want the kudos of that gold Olympic medal, so they chuck a load of money at it. And we're not so different to sports people. We're kind of musical athletes. We've got the same things. We're looking for coordination and, repetition and motor action and all these kind of things. Very, very similar disciplines, actually. So we can look at sports science, if you like, and we can apply it to the way that we practice. And the interleave practice, you'd be more familiar with from a sports point of view as reps. So what you don't do is you don't do half an hour of bench presses followed by half an hour of this. You do some reps of bench presses, then you go and do something else, and then you might come back to bench presses later, for example. And that's where this idea is based from. So you could take your section. So let's say just your warm-up section. And let's say that there's a couple of things you'd like to practice as warm-ups. So let's say you've got three things. You want to practice some altissimo, you want to practice some overtones, and you just want to do some long tones, just for argument's sake. So instead of saying, right, I've got 30 minutes to do my warm-ups, I'm going to do 10 minutes of one, followed by 10 minutes of the other, followed by 10 minutes of the other to do that. You interleave them. So, for example, you might do just 2 or 3 minutes of long tones, followed by 2 or 3 minutes of overtones, followed by 2 or 3 minutes of altissimo, and then you go back to long tones. So you still do that half an hour, but you interleave the subjects within it. And it's been found, and this is research that's been going on for over 30 years. This is literally how sports players work on things. So instead of doing the whole morning doing forearms in tennis and the afternoon backhand and the evening serving, they found that by swapping these things around, the learning is much quicker. And the reason behind that is because every time you come back to that subject, you've got to remember how to do it. Every time you come back, you've got to remember, where if you just do it for a prolonged length of time, you have to think about it once, and then you get into what's called habituation, which is into the habit of doing it. You're not necessarily getting better at it after a certain point. You're just in the habit of performing that thing. So I find, for a lot of my students, and I teach this at the conservatoire, they just find practice more fun when they do it like this. And because, I said to one of my students once, how are you getting on with the interleave practice? And they went, it's brilliant. It's so much more fun. I've started practicing things I've avoided for years. And I'm like, oh, that's strange. What like? And she was a piano player, actually, composer. And she said, oh, I've started working on my sight reading again. I've just not worked on it for years. And I was like, well, why has this made you do it? She says, because I only have to do it for 3 minutes. And I get to do something else. So it makes kind of maybe the more mundane subjects a bit more interesting, because you've got something to look forward to in the short term coming up. You get to have a break from it. But from the point of view of what we're talking about reducing practice routines, it's really efficient, because you can take all the different things you want to practice across your entire schedule. And let's say that to make up your ideal 2 hours, you repeated everything 9 times, for argument's sake. Well, if you've only got a third of that time today, then you just repeat them all 3 times, but you still get round everything. So it's actually really efficient from a time point of view. And if you've got a bit longer, do an extra rep, or add a new subject in. So it's a different way of looking at it that's kind of based a bit more on science. I thought for years and years I was like a terrible practicer. I never practiced in blocks. I was always like this. I did a bit of that, and then I go back to that. And in hindsight, even though I was teaching at the time and telling all my students to practice in blocks because that's how we taught to teach, I thought, what a hypocrite. That's not what I do in my practice. So when I found out about this, it made a lot of sense. It made sense. I was actually just trusting my instincts in the way that I practice. And then I apologized to all my previous students and and told them about this and said basically I've been lying to them for years.
Yeah, really interesting. Really interesting. I think that's fascinating, all the scientific stuff. I mean, you're really great at digging into all that stuff, Joel. And it's interesting to hear how things from a different industry like sports relate to music.
Sure.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I don't know, Fred, you're really into learning about all this sort of stuff as well, aren't you?
Yeah, well, I think you and I might be both reading the same book right now, the Molly Gebrian book about I can learn faster, perform better, which is all about she's a violist and a neuroscientist, and she has a book about all this stuff, and she talks a lot about interleaved practice.
Oh, does she? Okay, I've not seen that
yeah,
book.
It's a great book. It's a really good book. She's got a bunch of videos, and she has a whole there's a whole method on how to practice to speed things up, and the importance of taking breaks, and all, it's a fascinating book, and it's all scientifically based. And there were some tests. They did do some experimentation with musicians, mostly pianists, but a lot of it is based on sports and that type of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a great book.
Yeah, it's a fascinating topic. I think understanding how we practice makes us more efficient, helps us to be more efficient at least. And of course, that's going to help you to make faster progress and more consistent progress, which is what we're all about, really, particularly when you're an adult learner, right? We've got a more finite amount of time and a clearer idea of what our playing goal is as well. So we need to be efficient with the way that we practice. Hey, just before we carry on, though, with this conversation, if you're enjoying the episode today and you want to go a bit deeper with the stuff we're talking about, and you're not already a Sax School member, well, first question is, why are you not a Sax School member? Because we've got a free 14-day trial. It's running as we're filming this now. So if you want to go and check out the thousands of lessons in there and also get help from the tutors like Joel and Fred and myself and the other tutors, and also connect with our incredible worldwide community of other learners, well, you can go do that by visiting saxschoolonline.com and click a few buttons and start your free 14-day trial, and you'll have instant access to all that. And the world will suddenly open up. The skies will clear out. The sun will come down.
The conkers will stop dropping.
The conkers will stop dropping.
That I doubt. I doubt that very much.
Life will be better in every single way. We'd love to see you in there, though. It really is a great place to learn, and also very inspiring to connect with the other people who are going through exactly the same journey that you are, which is working at becoming better saxophone players. So Fred, apart from the Molly Gebrian book, have you got some other takeaways about efficient practice?
Well, I had for years had a problem with just consistency in my practicing. And, and as adults, I think this becomes even harder because, life gets in the way and you don't feel like you can devote, a couple hours, or maybe you're just, you do a couple of hours one day and then you don't practice for several days. And that's not productive either. So the key is really just putting the horn in your mouth every day. And I can't remember where I heard this, who I heard it from, but it might have been during the pandemic or something like that, but it really kind of changed my whole outlook. And that is, even 15 minutes a day with the horn in your mouth is better than 2 hours once a week. And because we all have this, there's also this kind of guilt cycle that you kind of get into. It's like, oh, I didn't practice yesterday, and I know that it's really going to suck if I try today, or, oh, I missed, so I'm not going to do it. You put it off, you rationalize it in some way because you have all these other things going on. You can't get to it. And next thing you know, 4 days have gone by and you haven't done it. So the thing that kind of helped me was just allowing myself 15 minutes. most, because you can always find 15 minutes, but the key is really that by giving yourself that permission to only do it for 15 minutes, 9 times out of 10, it ends up being more. It ends up to being an hour. It could be 90 minutes. Sometimes, I'm sitting here for whatever. Somehow, once you've got the horn in your mouth, you find the time to get things done. So if you, keep your expectations low and just say, I'm going to do 15 minutes every day. I'm going to find the time. And it's even better if you find a specific time, of course, the same time every day. But just being able to set aside that 15 minutes is much better than having these huge gaps in your practice schedule, I feel.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And actually, I mean, as I'm, I suppose it's partly as I'm getting older, but also as I'm so busy with the sax school business, every day is busy for me. And I have a to-do list every day, and I literally put practice and an amount of time on that schedule, and I put it at the top of my schedule. So it's one of the first things I do every day, because I know that same thing like you're saying, even if I put 15 minutes or 30 minutes in there, it'll end up being an hour or longer. But if I don't put it on that list, or if I put it further down the list, it'll get bumped because there'll be 7 other things that
And you also don't want it. It's good to do it early in the morning, I feel, because it's also when our kind of brains are kind of the freshest, and you don't want it hanging over your head for the entire day, And since I started doing this, I actually look forward to it. Because it's great feeling that you've actually accomplished something, even if it's only 15 minutes. You feel like you've gotten it done, and you can move on with your day without, oh no, I haven't done it yet. And that's not a good feeling.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think something else that really helps with that is keep your saxophone out.
Yes, absolutely.
That can make a really big difference. That sometimes just that, I've got to set my saxophone up. It can be the thing that might stop you practicing. So have it out somewhere safe. Obviously, it's not going to get knocked over on a good stand. You don't want to leave your mouthpiece on, but it's a quick setup, sorting out your reed and just popping it on and having a play because it's there looking at you. Sometimes you feel guilty about that because the saxophone, it's like, play me. So it's nice to have it there where if it's hidden away in a case, then, it's not kind of...
Out of sight, out of mind.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's about removing the friction, isn't it? Removing the friction so that it's easier to pick it up and play. And I understand not everybody has the luxury of a space where it's safe to leave your saxophone out. But if you are able to do that, then it definitely makes things much easier. Look, there's so many great tips today. I hope, if nothing else, it's encouraging you, as you listen to this, to go and pick up your saxophone. Have you done your 30 minutes yet today? Find 30 minutes to get started, or even 15 minutes. So just a quick reminder, I've talked about the 4-part practice routine, something to warm up, some technical stuff, the bulk of it being something new, and then finishing with something fun. And Joel?
Yeah, so I talked about a similar thing, having those blocks, but maybe then splitting up the blocks into smaller blocks. So you get through everything you need to do, and you can just reduce the time of those blocks if need be.
And Fred?
Oh, hi. A little bit every day is definitely better than a lot once a week or twice a week.
Yeah, 100%. And you know what? I just thought something else I wanted to say about that is, look, we're not all perfect people. I've had phases for a week where I haven't practiced because life got really, really busy. And then you got to go through that pain of because even a week I can feel a difference in my playing. But what I always try and remember is that feeling when you are practicing every day for months, and playing feels easy. Like your tone, you feel like you're on top of things. And it's so nice to get back to that point when you've had a block of days where you've not been able to practice. So I think it's great to try and keep that fitness going because it just makes playing more fun.
Yeah.
Joel never has that because you just practice all the time, don't you?
I wish.
Well, hey guys, thanks so much for listening to us today. I really hope you found that useful. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And if you know someone else that might enjoy this podcast, please do share it with them because we'd always love to reach more sax players and help more people. That's what we're here to do. Most importantly, though, keep practicing hard, and we'll catch you on the next episode.